Yo yo, episode 22 of the Bronx Beat, a New York Yankees podcast. Yankees swept the Toronto Blue Jays in the doubleheader today, not the series. They did lose one game on Friday night. They were off yesterday. It was Aaron Judge's 33rd birthday, so happy birthday to the captain. But before we get into it, some important news and notes today that you might have heard about before the game, but we're going to go over them. DJ LeMayu played in his third game with Somerset. Now, he played second base in all three games. Not full games, but he did get his at bats in. He did pretty good. 5 for 8, a homer, double he hit in one of those games, but he had three RBIs total. He was playing second base. There was one of the highlights was him running, to his glove side towards the foul line, making a play on a little pop up behind the first baseman in front of the right fielder. So what's next up for DJ? In his rehab assignment, he'll most likely be the that right-handed compliment bat, and Oswaldo made his nice series with the bat for Oswaldo against the Blue Jays here, but he had his fourth throwing error now. But Luis Heel, Meredith was talking before the first game. He started his throwing program today. Now, realistically, we're probably looking at 3 months away. This is he hasn't even. This is just him throwing. He hasn't even gotten into what would be his spring training. So Luis Heel, getting ready to come back here. So that'll be if all goes well, that'll be like a late, like an acquisition almost when, Luis Seal's ready to come back. So to keep it, just to keep it down on the farm, in double A since DJ was down there. Just to highlight two of the youngsters, Spencer Jones really doing his thing. He has 7 homers, 12 RBIs, leading all of double A right now with home runs. And Cam Schlittler, who we saw a little bit in spring training, he's 2-1 with a 1.23 ERA and 22 innings. So two young kids down there really doing their thing. So we all know by now. We should know by now. Devin Williams was removed from the closer role, and just like Skipper Aaron Boone said, for now, and he is going to continue to be a central figure on the team. So whatever that means. But we saw Luke Weaver today without the no save situation, and got the job done. Still you know no earned runs yet for Luke Weaver in his 14 appearances now. But Devin Williams, they said not the closer for now, and emphasized the for now, and would love to know what Booney really meant by that central figure. But on Friday, kind of spoiled a really what I think was a nice start from Carlos Cookie Carrasco. He had 5 innings, he gave up 3 hits, no earned runs, and he had a couple strikeouts, couple walks. Um, it was a nice, okay start. No runs from Carlos Carrasco, like we were saying. Then Devin Williams blew the save. When he came in, it was just he really had nothing. The command was really bad. You try to saw my video from after the game. It was just a you know real gut wrenching loss, and then it was worse going into because on Saturday they didn't play with the weather that never was. But besides the point, which gave us the doubleheader today, but it was a single hit by pitch, which would the dagger, the double to Alejandro Kirk, and then Addison Barger, the double off Mark Leiter Jr., who came in, and that was with that the loss Friday night, the 4-2 loss. It was the seventh time the Yankees lost, or they scored 3 runs or fewer which they lead Major League Baseball for the least amount of games. So the seventh game with 3 runs or fewer. But it's a game that you kind of think about. They should have won. Um, one thing also to take out of this series that we'll talk about. There was a lot of doubles. A lot of doubles, extra base hits, and the bottom of the order really did their thing. We were talking about how last week how the bottom of the order needs to pick it up a little bit. They sure did. Oswaldo had a nice series, just the whole bottom of the order in general. JC Escara, congrats to JC. He had a homer today. Just the bottom of the order bopping. And that's what we need. We need everyone, everyone to get going, and that's how you put 11 runs and 5 runs on the board. But the Friday night game, it was a nice start from Cookie, and we'll see Cookie again from in Baltimore coming up. But the concern definitely Devin Williams, and now with all the body language, and we can talk about it now. It's kind of like does he want to be here? Does he not want to be here? He is here for now, until this year, unless you can't really see the Yankees moving on from him. And realistic, from what they traded for him, it's a 1 year. He's that 1 year type player. That's why they're not gonna, doesn't at this early in the stage of all of it, doesn't sound like they're giving up on him. Which I don't think, I don't think they should, but they're going to try to build him back up and get his confidence back. Because with the bullpen, he's you don't want to keep talking and reminiscing about what he's done in the past. What he's done in the past, it's about what he's doing now, and just want to see some more out of him. We know what Luke Weaver can do, and the bullpen. To me, closer, setup man. It's all one unit. Yeah, you need to have a guy who's a closer, but it's all one unit. You see, guys like Fernando Cruz really doing this thing. The grunting today, great. That was really, really funny with my wife on FaceTime with my mom, and they were talking about what's that noise. And it was Fernando Cruz grunting. Very, very funny. But Fernando, Nasty Nando, is that forkball splitter, whatever you want to call it, nasty. Oh my God. It's just drops right off the table, and he's just really doing this thing. Mark Leiter Jr. had he struck out the side today in that second game. But just to finish it off with Devin Williams, we don't know from seeing it in the Yankee uniform, but we know from what he has done in the past. Now, one thing that may be alarming, to some people, but it's always something with not all the time, but a lot of the time, it's always something with that a National League pitcher coming to the American League now. Now the schedule is not as drastic as it used to be, with like we would see the Yankees playing the Blue Jays 18, 19 times, but it's just not the schedule is not as drastic, but something with playing, the teams not playing each other. It could help. I don't know. There's a noise going on outside. I kind of got a little sidetracked here. It sounds like a moped or something. So I kind of forgot what I was talking about. But Devin Williams, got to get him going. What we've seen as Yankee fans now, it's really terrible. Not what you're tired of hearing about what he's done in the past. With Milwaukee, and kind of want to see what he can do now. And the Yankees really, really have a job out for them to build him up, because I wasn't at the ballpark, but just from seeing and hearing, it's just the fan base, the way it's turning, it's a little getting kind of ugly. So gotta really, really with all the stupidity going on coming out of Cleveland. A little bit of a different situation, but I guess you kind of say it's the same thing with fans acting unruly. But I don't want to get into it, but Jaron Duran, who had in the Netflix documentary, they talk about he had some troubles dealing with certain demons that he had with himself in the past. And some idiot in Cleveland decided to say some things that were, shouldn't be said, not only to a professional athlete, to anyone, knowing the history, that everything's out there now with social media and everything, as we talk, on the podcast, but everything's out there now. And, just terrible, terrible thing to say. So I think, yeah, we can be hard on Devin for his performance, but, you know, take a look at, the post games, the way he talks. It looks like a guy who's not happy right now. Not having a really good time being a Yankee. So maybe, like we talked about last year, building, public enemy number one, Clay Holmes up, build Devin Williams up a little bit, because you know what? It's April 27th. Um, you know, the what the Yankees 17 win Yankees now. Um, that's the main problem that they're having, and they would 17 wins, cruising, not having only seven, having the fewest games scored with 3 runs. Yankees, talk about first world problems right now for a ball club, if you want to use that in a sense. But they're doing pretty all right, leading in home runs. But to get Devin Williams right, the way the bullpen's pitching now with Loizica and Beater and arms coming back, it's looking, it could be looking good, but you got to get Devin Williams right. So let's get back to it. To our ace Max Fried now. The Yankees won the first bowl game today, second game of the series, 11-2. Max Fried now 5-0. The club has won all 6 starts that he has pitched in. He's lowered his ERA to 1.43. The way the game started off, he said, a Bo base hit, wild pitch. It led to a run quick for Toronto, kind of, scratching your head a little bit, with the, there was a few wild pitches, but then he made up for it with picking off Miles Straw. But Max Fried had a great, great start today. It was 6 innings, 6 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. Like we said earlier, a lot of soft contact. The error from Oswaldo had his 4th throwing error again, but picking it up with the bat, like we were talking about. There was a lot of a lot of doubles. We were talking about the doubles, and we saw Max Fried's pick off again, and it was funny because earlier this morning I was listening to Jack Curry's podcast, and he had Andy Pettit on. It was an older episode. I'd like to always catch up on certain of my podcasts that I listen to, and of course I wanted to listen to Andy Pettit, and it was a great listen. So if you want to hear Andy, but I didn't finish it yet. I'm halfway through it, but from what I heard so far, Andy was talking about how in spring training, he was working with Max Fried with the pickoff, and Andy's words, not mine. He's saying Max Fried has the gift, that natural gift of that pickoff, because Andy said he always tries to teach it, but you really can't teach it. Andy says it's a natural God-given gift. We know how good Andy's pickoff was. It was unbelievable, borderline a balk, but it was great. It was really, really wonderful, but borderline, almost, not quite, but almost. It was, clean pickoff move, and Max Fried, same type of agility off the mound. And it's all about, remember Andy's legs, all about the legs and the power that he had. And Max Fried, very, very similar, similar type of pitcher. We still think he's more of a Mike Messina type from the left hand side, but a lot of similarities to Pettit, which who can go wrong being compared to Andy Pettit in any way, shape, or form, really. But Max Fried playing the stopper, ace, doing his thing again. And the doubles today, we had a lot of doubles this series, especially in the bottom of the order, like we said, doing their thing. But Volpe had a double. Wells, had 2 doubles. Oswaldo, Goldie, and Belly. There was the big bottom of the third in the second game today. Big for Kevin Gossman. I mean, we know Judge has a nice history versus Kevin Gossman. Is one of those pitches, tough starting pitcher. He didn't really have it today. Six walks total in the bottom of the third for the Yankees. Five came from Gossman. Now we always talk about those walks. Now it was six walks, 6 runs. It was and then it was a single, sac fly, and then Austin Wells doubles. The single was Judge, sac fly was Belly, but the walks. I mean, for a change, it wasn't. It was in our favor, but like we always say, the walks always come back to get you. 6 run inning, 6 walks surrendered, and Anthony Volpe he ended, it was like 20 or 21 games since his last homer, and he had a nice series. One of the guys at the bottom of the order doing their thing, but Volpe homered for um for the fifth time, and it was the first time, like we said, in about 20 games there, and they cruised along. We saw the 27th man, Yeri De Los Santos, picked up a few innings. Getting his work in there, doing the job for a few innings, and the Yankees took the first game of the series, and like we said, Max Fried winning six now, all 6 of his starts. The club has won. He's 5-0. Max should start getting into the. I know it's early, but should start getting into that Cy Young conversation now. Really, really pitching, unbelievable, and I think above, as of right now, above expectations. And then the game two today, Clark Schmidt versus Chris Bassett was on the mound, and Bassett was, his usual self against the Yankees. Pretty consistent. Very above average, consistent pitcher, that Chris Bassett. And Clark did have a solid start. He had a few walks today, 4 total, a little more. That's usually my limit. Like we usually say, the 4 walks is the limit. Or of the most you should give up in a game, and that's where Clark was at today. And he had a solid start. Otherwise, 5 innings, 1 hit, 1 run, and one of that run was the home run to Anthony Santander. It was really, talk about struggling at the beginning of the season here, Anthony Santander, but he got on the board today with the homer, and Tim Hill, Mark Leiter Jr., Fernando Cruz, and then Luke Weaver came in. They shut it down. Mark Leiter Jr. struck out the side. Fernando Cruz had 2 strikeouts. The bullpen, doing the job yet again. The offense, the Yankees had their power. The offense, where did the power come from today in the second game of the doubleheader? Trent Grisham led off the game with a homer. It was the 6th time in his career from the leadoff spot hitting the homer, and Trent has been beyond, above and beyond. Just letting him last April, he really didn't play that much. This April, taken off, unbelievable, and it's one of those guys like, how is Booney? He has to be in the rotation the way he's the lineup rotation the way he's been playing. I mean, you can't take him out of the lineup, and he's just been a catalyst, making all the plays. The homer today, like we said earlier, congrats to J.C. Escara. He had his first home run, and he actually became, if you want to say, the oldest Yankee in Yankee history books to hit their first career home run. At 30 years of age. I don't know the exact of the dates, but I did see the alert come across from New York Yankee stats on that X account. It's a wonderful X account with Yankee stats that sometimes you're like, wow, you wouldn't even think of some of these, but today, J.C. Escara's first Yankee homer. He is now, we could say he's now the youngest Yankee to have a homer. For their first home run. So congrats to JC and Judge. Judge, he homered for the first time in 9 days. That was to right center field off Bassett, so it was a day late for his birthday bash. 'Cause yesterday he turned 33, so we'll count that one. We'll count that one for his birthday. And Judge has to just decide now. They were putting up the graphics, and I was telling one of the someone in my building today, how I remember, if Judge reminded me, he asked me of who Judge reminds me of like a player when I was growing up. And to be completely honest, the way he's playing right now, as prolific as he is as a hitter, batting four. I want to say, what is it, 412 now? Exactly, it's above 400. We're almost into May here. Um, Honestly, Barry Bonds. I mean, when we know what Barry Bonds was doing, what he was, what he wasn't, but I can tell you he was a hell of a hitter. Um, any year I've seen him play, whether it was with Pittsburgh or San Francisco, he was just prolific. Changed the game. Talk about players taking over the game. This is a guy who got walked with the bases loaded. Intentional walks with the bases loaded, which I think we might start seeing if Judge keeps this up. We might start seeing the more walks coming. But with the bottom of the order picking it up, we just got to get the guys who drive in runs now. You have the bottom of the order have their role. The top of the order has their role. You need the run producers now. The five and six spots to do their thing was Judge and Goldie. Today can't complain about with the team today, but in hindsight, as a whole, Judge and Goldie can't be the only ones. You got to find some type of chemistry, and the lineup's been good. They've been doing their thing, but just saying, we're just saying. And so Yankees take the series from Toronto. Toronto, now falls to three and they now fall. One was it third place in the might even be third or fourth in the division. But Toronto, their power numbers, I know they're struggling a little bit. We saw the Vladdy home run this series. Santander is really struggling for them after seeing the big contract, and teams struggling too. We're going to be seeing the other birds in the division going to Baltimore, and talk about teams struggling. They're another, they're definitely on the docket as a team struggling now, and just to dip in the matchups here now. Baltimore, they lost back-to-back series before being swept by Detroit. They just got swept by Detroit, but they lost back-to-back series to Cincinnati and Washington. Charlie Morton's been having a real rough time. 0-6 ERA over 10. You know, the second game, up until right now, it's 9:30 here now on Sunday the 27th, 9:36 to be exact. And Baltimore for the second game. So game one tomorrow. All the games are 6:35 start, and I want to say the Wednesday game, which back to normal now. I want to say the Wednesday game is on Amazon. And yes, it is. Wednesday's the Amazon game. But the second game of the series, Carlos Rodon's going for us. And I'm just checking one last time here on the app. And Baltimore still has TBD. So we don't know yet who's pitching the second game. So the Yankees will have Carlos Rodon going up against someone. And Carlos Carrasco versus the the youngster, the left-hander, Cade Povich, newly in the rotation for them. And Baltimore is just really struggling with pitching as of late. As a lot of teams are, but with you know Baltimore, the young team, that they have down there, just struggling with pitching. And it's always an interesting series. At one time, it's a big rivalry. It's starting to get back into that. But it should be an interesting series. We're going to see the new dimensions in Camden Yards. No more that big left field in Camden Yards is great ballpark, great ballpark, and Yankees usually tend to have success down there. So let's see. We'll see when we get there. But Will Warren versus Tomoyuki Sugano. Now, just as they've been struggling, Sugano and Povich, um, they've been coming off some decent starts. So and Sugano and Povich both had some decent starts. Their last ones, even though the team's struggling, but always an interesting series when the Yankees take on the Orioles, especially in Baltimore. And we see Judge is on another planet. Nice to see Volpe picking it back up a little bit. Rodon, you can pretty much say, all our guys, Rodon, Carrasco, Warren, coming off pretty decent starts, if you want to say. Kind of see them build off that. Nice to see the bottom of the order, like we said, picking it up a little bit. To get a little nitpicky, like we always do. Hopefully, as Waldo can, fix the throwing errors. But we'll see how long it is until until DJ's back. Seeing him, he was hitting the wall, and if you saw the highlights, if I knew how to do it, I would do it. But if you saw the highlights, um, he kind of looked like he was swinging somewhat normal. I mean, not like he was second guessing himself with that ankle. Drive. He looked like he was really driving the ball. To the best of the ability he can do now, and we like you can no one wants to hear it, but we know what LeMayu can be. It's been a long time, but let's see. They're going to give him one last shot here. Come back. It's April 27th, and if it doesn't work out, they'll do something about it. Trust me. I honestly do feel that way, but so far right now, um, it's looking, other than, the pitches, they're coming off a nice go around, of guys that you have questions about. They're, coming off a nice go around. The conversation next time when we come talk could be different. But as of right now, those certain guys, like Will Warren, Carrasco, who, we were coming off saying, oh, they need to have good starts. This one, they had the good start. So now what's the next one going to be? And then what's the next one going to be? I mean, um, we know that eventually they're gonna have to bring someone in, but right now it's going. So let's you know deal with one blip at a time. We should say, let's get Devin right here. The rest of the bullpen's been picking it up, and we saw Tyler Matzik today. He did give up those back-to-back doubles in the run, but it was nice to see Matzik come in. Um, so let's just Escara. Hopefully, the few times, the sparing times that he's in the lineup, because we see a lot of Austin Wells. Maybe maybe see more of Escara. Maybe we'll find out. But it's nice to see him get that first home run out of the way. So maybe he'll get some more hits now. Maybe Wells had his few doubles. Seeing him get it going a little bit. Volpe getting going. Just like we said, the bottom of the order, get the guys going, and we'll see how the series in Baltimore goes. I'll talk to you guys. Enjoy the rest of your nights. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Um, Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'll talk to you. God bless. And as always, go Yankees. Have a good one.